and worries about solar flares. We want you to know that the Mother Earth is a living and sentient being that is wise beyond your comprehension, and that she is in constant communication with the life force energy of the sun, and will make use of the life force energy of the sun in order to elevate the consciousness of all living things on the planet. Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here with you on Angie Hibble from the Judah channel. And I'm really excited to have this chance to share some of my story with you today. When I got to be about 8 years old, one day I was sitting in church with my mom, and the preacher was talking about hell and about an eternity of being separate from Jesus. And this thought was really devastating for me as a little girl. You can imagine the terror or fright I might be feeling about this thought or idea that I would be separate from this beloved Jesus that I had just come to know forever and ever and ever, and have this punishment of burning in hell forever. So while I was sitting there in the chair in the pew at church trying to understand what was being said and process all of this, I was enveloped with a cloud. It was an actual literal mist, as if I was sitting inside of a little rain cloud while I was sitting there on the pew. And as this mist came around me, I just felt this enormous sense of love and bliss and joy and happiness, and I just felt myself completely and totally embraced by this experience. And I had no idea what this meant. It was such a profound experience. So, of course, my logical mind as a little girl was somehow connecting this beautiful, blissful experience I was having with what the preacher was saying, or I was tying it in, mentally to the context in which I was having the experience. So, the short story is I ended up responding to the invitation of the preacher to come down to the front and say a prayer that was scripted out for me by the adults there. And I just followed their directions and prayed this prayer and went through this process of things that they wanted me to do in order to become a Christian, as they said. So now, as an adult, as I look back on that, I really see it differently since my awakening. I realized that at that moment when I was hearing that preacher and the message about an eternity in hell and punishment and separation from this beloved Christ that I had come to love as a little girl, I understand now that there was an angelic presence that came around me in the form of that mist that was letting me know that was not the truth, that the truth was the love that they were allowing me to feel from their presence in that moment, that was the truth. So my childhood was a mix of a lot of religious confusion, and also true, real, dynamic experiences with the unseen realm, with the angels and with Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And when I got into my 40s, I had a series of unfortunate events, and the primary one that kind of kicked off, it was like dominoes, so that was kind of the beginning for me, my dad's death. And I've learned since then, when Judah came to see me many years later for the very first time, it was about 6 years later after my dad's death, 6 years into this awakening process, I was visited supernaturally by a group of angels, 350,000 angels in this collective, and their name is Judah. And when they visited me, it was again a time where there was kind of this open window to heaven, I will say, or to the other side, to the unseen realm, because my grandson was getting ready to be born. So I've learned that deaths and births are really special windows of opportunity for us to be strongly connected into the unseen realm, to experience angels, to have out-of-body experiences, to meet ETs, to to get connected in with our higher self and begin an awakening process. So I've been on this journey about 8 years now, and Judah's been with us about 3 years. I do channel these beautiful angels. They come through in a direct voice channeling, a big booming voice usually. Also, I can just hear them speaking telepathically to me and just communicate with my normal voice with them, and they're constantly available anytime, so any question, anything that arises. Judah will answer any question that we have for them. I used to, in my humanness, I would be a little nervous when people would ask certain questions, particularly if there were questions about things that I had absolutely no frame of reference for or knowledge about the topic that they were bringing up. But I have yet to ever find a question that anyone asked that Judah didn't have a response for, and a powerful one at that. And so when they come through, there's such an elevation of the vibration in the room. The way they communicate is so much more than just words. It's a tangible, visceral energy. People feel it. Even on Zoom calls, such as the one that we're on right now, when I'm working with folks, they ask a question and Judah responds, you can visibly, tangibly see the expression on their face change. You can see the heat come in. You can see the emotion comes up. They begin to unload a lot of negative emotion, fear or doubt or anger. That people get healed of diseases. So the angels, the great gift that they offer us is the messages, of course, but it's so much more than that. It is these beautiful energies that they bring, and they are healing. Judah constantly speaks to the energy of different things going on the planet, and they also have introduced me to many other interstellar beings that speak to the different things going on the planet. But one of the things that Judah reiterates constantly is that their job, as far as how they work with me, is not primarily to make predictions about the future, but to show us the possibilities of how we as humans are creating the future of humanity and how we can work with them, with angels and other ET beings, in order to create the future that we want. So I'll give you an example. If I made a prediction, let's say about some negative thing that could happen, I don't make those sorts of predictions with Judah. Judah doesn't use me in that way, because if I share that in a public platform and your beautiful audiences are giving their time, their energy, and attention to that negative possibility, then that gives more momentum to that negative possibility, and it actually facilitates creating it. And I'll give you an example of this. In the 1980s, there was a really tragic earthquake in Mexico City, and 5,000 people died in that tragic earthquake. 32 years later to the day, in 2017, the people of Mexico City were coming together to remember the deaths of all those who died 30-some years before, and also to do earthquake drills, to prepare, to get ready for possible future earthquakes. So the whole city was putting their attention and their energy, their focus on this tragedy that had happened and the possibility that it could happen again. And guess what happened? On that very day, there was another earthquake and more people died. So this is why did this happen? Well, it happened because the people, the collective consciousness in Mexico City was focused on the possibility of an earthquake. They were focusing on the past earthquake they had had and the potential future ones that they might have. And in so doing that, they unwittingly and intentionally created another earthquake and more deaths. Judah has shared there will be solar flares and that these are going to positively impact our consciousness. It's going to provide more energy and more life. Actually, if you'd like, we can just let Judah speak about that. Let's see what Judah has to say about solar flares. We want to encourage you, each and all, to step away from any fearful thoughts and worries about solar flares. We want you to know that the Mother Earth is a living and sentient being that is wise beyond your comprehension, and that she is in constant communication with the life force energy of the sun, and will make use of the life force energy of the sun in order to elevate the consciousness of all living things on the planet, plants, animals, and yes, human beings. So solar flares may have some impact upon your technology. However, rest assured that the solar flares are ultimately going to be a blessing for the human race and will elevate your life force energy, your capacity for life, yes, and your capacity to elevate your personal and collective levels of consciousness. We would love to speak to this question about humanity's future. The future for humanity is bright, it is brilliant, it is shining. It is full of hope and goodness. Fix your attention on what is good, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is elevating. Fix your attention, your time, and your energy on what makes you laugh, what helps you to be more of your true self, the self that you were when you were young, when you were joyful and carefree as a child. Embrace more and more of this, for the future of humanity is brilliant. It is full of camaraderie. There will be a time when the human family will operate together as one global consciousness, without fear, without judgment. Each one, each nation, each culture, each person having their own unique and decisive perspective, but still embracing each and all of the others within this beautiful perspective. There will be more joy, more acceptance, more tolerance, more embracing. Religious people from various religious traditions will come to understand that each religion has its merits, its truth, its beauty, its divine threads of consciousness, and each is to be respected and upheld. And the future of humanity will see the end to war. The end to war. In fact, there will be children in generations to come who will read about the wars waged on the earth and find it difficult to believe that there was ever such a time in human history. There will be a day in which war is nothing but a faint memory documented in history, but no longer a reality. There is much freedom coming for laborers, we would say, who are laboring for low wages that do not sustain their lives and their families. Those who are working long, difficult hours for very little pay and very little time for the things that they enjoy the most. These things will change. They will change. They will change. There will be technological advances that will allow people to be completely freed from these type of enslaving work. There will be a time in humanity's future where each person will be respected for their skill, their talent, their own unique ability. Not only will they be respected for it, but they will be allowed to operate fully in their own gifts and talents, and they will be compensated fairly and adequately, even abundantly for this. There will be a time in humanity's future when it will be considered a crime for any person on the earth to have to do a job that is not in alignment with their inborn natural God-given talents and abilities. And there will be a time in humanity's future when wisdom will be highly treasured far above finances and material goods and possessions. Wisdom will be considered the wealth of the planet. Wisdom and nature. These will be considered these will be considered yes, the most important goals or achievements to be acquired, to have respect and love and communion with the earth, with plants and animals, the wind, the trees, the sun, the land. And then secondary to that will be wisdom that you wanted me to speak to. Yes. After on the event in the 2024, like the nature data, the US election or the April S. Yes. We will speak to this about natural disasters and understand that nature is yawning, stretching. She is growing, expanding, and there are various effects of this upon the planet in weather patterns and so on. But know this, it is most important for each and every one listening to hold in your heart a faith and a trust that all things are held together with a divine intelligence. No natural disaster that happens upon the earth that is a surprise in the angelic realm, that is a surprise to the divine ones and the ascended masters who watch over you. And so it is never a need for you to be afraid, only to hold within yourself the understanding that you have the capacity to not receive your news and information through media, but to receive in your own inner being divine intelligence, divine wisdom and understanding, a specific and divine message about where you should live, where you should work, what the weather patterns and so on will be. And if you listen quietly, carefully to the still voice inside of your own inner being, which is found in meditation, know that you will be safe. You will be safe from harm. In this past year, this beautiful vessel, her children and her grandchildren lived in a location where there was a horrific hurricane which tore through the location of their small town in North Carolina, and there were many devastating losses and even deaths in their community. However, even though this beautiful young family, so precious, the most precious treasure in the earth to this vessel, for children and grandchildren, they lived by a river, a river that was rushing, a torrent of rushing water throughout the hurricane. But their family, nevertheless, was spared all harm, spared all harm. They were not harmed at all, at all, at all, at all. So are we saying that those who have been harmed that there is a difference between those who are harmed and those who had not been harmed. And we would simply say that know that whatever happens to you in your life is being orchestrated for your highest and best good, even if it seems in the moment to have been tragic, or perhaps some would say about this vessel's children and grandchildren that they were just lucky not to be in harm's way. But we will tell you there's no such thing. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. The darkest and most tragic and traumatic bear a purpose. And those who seem to be fortunate, also these, there is a purpose for all things. And so we encourage you to trust, to trust, to trust, to trust. You may say, many of you say, we understand your experience is that you've never, perhaps some of you have never had even a single person whom you could trust implicitly, completely. But we want you to know that in spite of that perception that you have of your experience, we are here, angels are here, divinity is here, archangels are constantly watching. You are under the watchful eye of the divine, and there is nothing happening to you that is a surprise to angels or to divinity. Everything is perfectly and divinely ordered for you. Even were a natural disaster to fall at your door and you were to lose your wife or the lives of those you love, know that you would instantly be embraced in the loving arms of divinity, and all your troubles would disappear. Just as this vessel shared with you earlier the experience of her father dying, and in the split second in which his spirit left his body, he was enveloped only in peace, only in joy, only in love. So know this, there is no natural disaster that can steal anything from you, for there is no sting in death for those who hold into this trust that we are speaking of. There is no darkness, there is only light. The light is always available. Turn it on in whatever darkness you find yourself in. Even those who, yes, even such as Mahatma Gandhi, there in his last moment, there was a gunman who shot him, and he spoke Ram, 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 Ram as he fell directly into the arms of divinity, of source, of love, of beingness. There is no suffering. The suffering of humanity exists in the perception of what is happening. For we will tell you there are those who endure things that you might perceive to be tragic, but even in the midst of the happening, they are held. They are held in love. They are held in peace. They are held in joy as they invest their trust in what is beyond what they see with the natural eyes. When I'm asked questions about predicting the future, what is underneath that? Judah actually would like to speak to that. We want to speak to what's underneath the question. You see, there are many questions asking us to predict a future. And why? This is what we want to ask you. Why ask these questions about the future? It is more important, my dears, to be in the moment, to be here now, for the future is always going to be an unknown. And so when you ask the question to know what is going to happen in the future, we understand that you're asking this question because you want to feel safe. You want to feel safe. And so the desire for prediction is in order to feel more secure. And so the ego mind, we want you to understand, never feels safe. It is always looking for a reason to be okay. But the ego, its nature, its very nature is to not feel okay. Its very nature is to feel disturbed, to feel worried, to feel confused, to feel anxious about the future. The ego mind's operative mode is always a fear and a fear story. And so we want to speak to this desire then to know the future and to have us predict the future. What we want to say to you is we do not want to predict the future. We want you to create the future. We want you to create the future with your most loving, creative, and imaginative thoughts. We want you to drop this need to know what's going to happen in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure, because we assure you that even if we gave you the answer that you most wanted to hear about the future, if we give you this answer that everything is going to be okay, there's nothing to worry about, nothing bad is going to happen, even if we assured you in this way with some positive predictions of the future, we want you to know that the ego mind will still find something to be afraid about. And there is never an end to this fear. This is the way the ego mind operates. So what we want to encourage you to do instead, rather than worrying about the future, for you see, worry is like a rocking chair. You can sit in a rocking chair and you can rock all day, and there's lots and lots and lots of activity in that rocking, but that rocking chair takes you nowhere. And this is the way of worry, and this is the way of fear, and it is the way of the ego mind. And so we are choosing intentionally in this interview not to give you predictive outcomes about the future, because what we want to say instead is we want you to tell us what it is that you want to create so that we can be there with the tools and the resources and the assistance and yes, even the raw supernatural power to create your own magic. We want you to be like little children who play and have imagination and dream and dream and dream and dream and dream about what you can do, what you can create in the earth. For can you control the wind? Can you control the sun? Can you control the weather? Can you control the financial market? Well, there are some, yes, who have specific callings and destinies in order to make contributions to these areas, but we want to tell you what is most important to master is not what is outside of you, not the wind, not the sun, not the earth or the financial systems or the political systems or the governments, educational systems. It is not for you to worry about all of those things. It is for you to look inside and create within you life, joy, excitement, peace, and connect with your own divinity and design your future and design the future for those you love the most with your creativity, with your imagination, with your intention, with your attention. Yes? And we will say that when hundreds of thousands and millions of people begin to do this, to focus on their own inner being, and within their own imagination begin to create and manifest what they want most, then you will see that the natural disasters will cease. Then you will see more peace, more calm on the earth. Then you will see governments begin to be aligned. You will begin to see governmental leaders who are full of love, who serve with humility, with joy, with love, with compassion, without any focus on their own selfish desires, and so on. So what can you do to change the world? What can you do to change the trajectory of the human family? What can you do? We are telling you what you can do. Meditate, 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 meditate. Love yourself, love the person in front of you. Give the people in front of you as much love as you can muster. Serve them and do what gives you joy, what is passionate and exciting for you. And in this you will change the world. Each and every person contributing in this way strengthens the collective consciousness of humanity, which has the power to create a brand new trajectory for humanity. Judah does share sometimes with me various things that are going to happen if the energy continues on a certain path. But if they're negatively oriented, I don't share those in a public platform. Instead, I want to share the opposite of what we want to create. So I'll give you one more example of why Judah's not involved in making negative predictions. A lot of people in this space, some people I will say in this space, talk about the possibility of a financial collapse in various countries. And it's common to hear people say something like, well, you know, we need this financial system to collapse so that we can create something better or different, more fair and more equitable. But Judah's perspective is we are each the creators of our own reality. So Judah's focus is less about predicting the future, and it's more about teaching beautiful folks just like all those listening how to create their own reality, how to put their time, energy, and attention on things that they want to create and to make that actually happen.